Frozen 2. You know, for a story all about venturing into the great unknown, Disney sure does rely a lot on what is familiar. Whether it's a sequel to one of their most successful animated films, well, ever, or one shit billion live-action remakes of their animated library, because cartoons are for kids, right? Disney knows that they practically own all of our childhoods, and damned if they are not gonna rake in that cash. Which, fair. We live in the late capitalist hellscape, after all. And in that quest to appeal to what is proven successful and minimize risk, there are the properties they would definitely like you to forget about. Problematic films loathed by the communities that they claim to represent, box office poison that nearly tanked the studio because the studio left it out for dead so that, they'd have an excuse to kill off their whole cinematic 2D department, or just trash.
Poor miserable Gurgi deserves fierce smackings and whackings on his poor tender head.
So what happens when a movie doesn't really bomb, nor is it hated, nor is it even really problematic? In fact, it's actually quite successful in its own right. But to Disney and their standards, it's kind of meh. Well, that's not fair to the properties I'm referring to. The Princess and the Frog is hugely underrated and is not only a great film, but also features the first black Disney princess. A little late on that one, but I'll take what I can get. Oh, wait, she's been the only one since, God damn it, Disney. God damn it. But ultimately, Disney's biggest concern is, but how much money did that make, though? And let me check my notes. Oh dear. I mean, it's nowhere near a bomb, but that could have been a lot better. Well, time to kill the 2D department again. You get a layoff, and you get a layoff. Everyone gets a layoff. And Tangled, while still far more successful than The Princess and the Frog, and hell, being the movie that started a wonderful decade of 3D animated Disney feature films we now lovingly refer to as the Revival era, would soon be overshadowed by its spiritual successor. Wow. I don't know how that happened. Spiritual successor. Wow. And thus would begin the Tangled Frozen Wars. I don't know if that's what they're actually called. Did we ever name these? I don't know if we ever named these. I am still bitter that they offer the Frozen title font on Font Meme, and yet they don't have the font for Tangled. Blasphemous! Now we're not here to discuss which film is superior. Though for the record, it's Tangled by far and away. That's not really a productive conversation to, 1, frame this entire fucking video around in the first place, and 2, it's not really a productive conversation to be having in the first place. But it is fun. Nor is it relevant aside from the purpose of this godforsaken prologue. When Tangled was forgotten about for its much cooler,
God damn it, Bart!
More successful younger sibling, would its brand thus be forgotten and the legacy of its IP left to wither on the vine? Well, yes and no. It's complicated. I mean, of course it is. Look at how long this video is. Get your snacks, get your wine. We gonna be here for a while. Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure, more commonly referred to as Tangled the Series, is a 2D animated series which follows the events after the 2010 Tangled movie, and before the Tangled Ever After short. It began with the Disney Channel original movie Tangled Before Ever After, and is now currently nearing the end of its run with its 3rd season after so many hiatuses. Oh my god, it's nearly out. No! This is not the first... Oh, fuck. I missed a paragraph! And while the series has done a spectacular job not only expanding upon the lore of the Sundrop and the scope of Corona and the world beyond its walls, but also exploring Rapunzel and Eugene's lives once Raps is returned to her parents. Be it in their adorable romance, their day-to-day misadventures, Raps pretending that she's evil, and adorableness resulting.
Oh, and I made you guys cookies.
Or questioning their existences and destinies whilst being thrown into life-threatening circumstances and heart-wrenching betrayals. You know, the usual Disney stuff. This isn't the first time a beloved animated Disney film has had its own series. Us withered and ever-exasperated millennial filth often recall fondly the Aladdin and Little Mermaid TV series, though more often than not, the stories in these shows were self-contained and episodic, and mostly stuck to, oh look, your favorite characters have more adventures to do things, but there are no worthwhile character arcs for the most part, other than Jasmine being like, yeah, I can save the day. Yeah.
Where are the tears, little princess? Beg me for mercy.
I don't know. I just remember in that episode she just kept getting fucking shot by Mose and Raph, and it was just like, you're trying, girl, I give you that, but yikes.
By nightfall.
He's not your genie.
Which isn't to say that they're bad, they're harmless fun. And the Little Mermaid series even introduced Gabriella, a Latina mermaid who was also deaf and communicated via sign language. That is some damn good and very welcome representation, weirdly in the 90s? Wow, okay, did not expect that. Or was it the early 2000s? I need to Google McMoogle. One moment. Yep, it was the 90s. Okay, we're good. Time is an illusion, time is a lie. But this kind of representation is also something we desperately need to set the tone of the 2020s, and also something the Disney executives can take notes on when it comes to keeping their LGBT rep to subtext, even when the actors are like, come on!
These are two guys that, are happy being intimate with each other emotionally. Personally, I kind of hoped and wished that maybe that would have been taken further in the other films, but I don't have control over that.
Or just cutting background same-sex kisses from Singapore releases. We see you, Disney, we see you. The gays are coming. You thought LeFou would be enough to fucking satisfy us? Bitch, no. Star vs. the Forces of Evil is doing a better job than your fucking feature films. Disgraceful. We all know Elsa and Honeymarin are a thing. Ryder emanates bisexual energy, and Kristoff a little bit too. We are on to you, Disney. We're coming for your brand. But Tangled the Series, meanwhile, is far more ambitious than its spiritual predecessors. Sure, most of the episodes are self-contained events that are either misadventures, slice of life, or often some kind of mix, but there's a larger overarching plot in the background that is rife with lore, mystery, and heavy emotional moments for nearly all the characters. And also Cass is totes gay, and I stan. OT3 for life, OT3 is always the correct answer. Sadly, the show hasn't really received much in the way of promotion from Disney. Admittedly, I'm not as versed in this field given I actually don't have television. I'm one of those filthy cord cutters. But from everything I have heard and seen, the show is given rather poor scheduling, little to no advertising, and worst of all, those infamously long unannounced hiatuses, my favorite. How in the fuck is it that these executives suck at scheduling things? Like any good show on Cartoon Network, Winx Club while it was on Nickelodeon, Steven Universe, fuck the Steven bombs, Jesus Christ. Like, why? Just give things a fucking regular schedule, please. But today, as Tangled the Series nears its end, we are going to celebrate what a great time it was. But no, we won't be digging into the lore, nor the fact that the Tangled world and characters look far better in this beautiful art style that they could never do in CGI. Oh, I live for this colorful, vibrant storybook aesthetic. I'm actually crying, it's so beautiful. Instead, we're gonna talk about the true strength of the series, the characters, and how it handles their arcs, struggles, and traumas. Ooh, that sounded really dramatic and tantalizing. Their traumas! As much as it's fun to take jabs at Eugene's mentioning of him and Raps finally getting married after years and years of her asking and pestering.
Did Rapunzel and I ever get married? And after years and years of asking and asking and asking, I finally said yes.
And how these kind of serve as desperate bids at meta-commentary about the Disney brand, I can't help but also genuinely appreciate it, and also find it ironic humor given that, you know, Eugene is a liar sometimes.
Kneel down and then propose to her, and give this ring I chose to her.
Nice.
Yep, Eugene proposes twice, once in the TV movie, and again in the season 2 premiere.
Did you just ask me to marry you?
What? No, that's crazy. No, I dropped something, and I got it. That's something that I dropped, and I knelt down and I picked it up, which would explain why I was on one knee.
And both times, Rapunzel says,
And I want to spend the rest of my life with you here.
And it doesn't get any better than this castle.
Princesses need to be protected at all times.
Rapunzel?
well, not no exactly, but rather not yet.
I love you, Eugene, but I can't. Just not now. I need some air.
But rather than play this off for pointless drama,
I do love him, and I want to marry him someday, but not like this.
they actually talk about both proposals, the pressure that they're both under, where they're both coming from, and each of them actively trying to understand the other.
Promise me one more thing,
Anything.
that you'll be patient with me.
Absolutely.
That is unbelievably refreshing for a portrayal of a couple in media. How life itself can prove enough of its own problem without annoying external drama or easily avoidable miscommunications getting in the way. And what it says about where both the characters are, what their current struggles and shortfallings are, and where they're headed. Not to mention, a damn good example for younger viewers on what a healthy relationship looks like. Thank you, Disney, for once.
You can't marry a man you just met.
It's especially refreshing on Eugene's part because he's unapologetically head over heels for Rapunzel and always doing his best to support her. He never tries to speak over her or get in her way when he thinks he knows best, and the one time he does to try and protect her out of fear,
I'm sorry, Rapunzel, but I won't let you in.
Hey, Eugene! Let me in!
Rapunzel finds a workaround and proves that actually no, don't do that. No, stop it. No.
Eugene!
Rapunzel, I am so sorry. I just thought...
There's no time for that. We have to get to that stone.
None of the other Disney couples come even close to this understanding and chemistry within Raps and Eugene's relationship. And for that reason, I shall stand and ship them till the day I fucking die. And I am beyond happy that Tangled the Series exists to explore how to write a healthy couple that still faces challenges and obstacles without all the pointless crap that often leads to people misplacing their frustrations on romance and media in general. When the show first started, easily the most contentious element was Cassandra. People often found her annoying and unnecessarily mean, especially in her interactions with Eugene.
Time to go! How's that water feeling, Fitzherbert?
But I can't help but find this to be a superficial reading of her character, especially as the series has gone on. Hell, even in season 1, there is development in her and Eugene's relationship as their bitter conflict.
And that's just like you, isn't it? Sit back and let things fall right into your lap.
What's that supposed to mean?
Oh, come on, you know exactly what it means.
Transforms into a mutually respectful rivalry, albeit with some obligatory teasing.
I figured if you got kicked out of the castle, Rapunzel would be all mopey, and I don't really do mope.
But it is not hard at all to see why Cass is like this. As the adoptive daughter of the captain of the guard, not knowing where she came from.
How about you? I mean, you ever imagine what your parents were like?
You know what? I don't really want to discuss this with you, Eugene.
And always held back from what dreams of becoming a soldier she had.
Dad, all I ever wanted was to be like you. I would have done anything, gone to any lengths to keep from disappointing you. The last thing I ever expected was for you to be the one to disappoint me.
It's only reasonable she's always ready to try and prove herself almost impulsively, even if the avenue through which she believes she can achieve this by taking shots at the ex-criminal who's now dating the princess she serves. And that's not to throw any shade on Eugene. I love the development he goes through and how he truly works to change himself for the better. But Cassandra was not around to see any of that, so from her perspective, she is challenging Eugene to see if he's really the good guy Rapp says he's become.
You don't think that maybe a lifetime criminal who just got out of prison and happens to show up on our front door could possibly have ulterior motives that involves his long-lost pal and partner in crime?
Does it come from an entirely healthy, secure place? No, of course it doesn't.
You know, just when I think I start to see a glimmer of a speck of a pinprick of a soul, you flip your eye switch back on.
But that's what makes it even more interesting in hindsight given recent developments. Major season 2 finale and season 3 spoilers in 3, 2. Go to this time if you want to skip this one. Okay, seriously, this is your last warning. Just go now. Okay, it's about to start. Okay, bye.
I tried to warn you, Rapunzel. You have to be careful who you trust.
Yeah, this moment definitely would have satisfied the suspicions of Cass haters, but for me, and a lot of other people, it's all too understandable to really blame her for her actions, especially given it's clear some dark, unseen forces have been pushing her in this direction. That revelation of Cass' mother being none other than the most underrated Disney villainous Mother Gothel stings.
That's my...
Mother, yes, it is.
And also really made fan theorists happy, specifically because, well, just look at their designs and tell me the similarities are not eerie and apparent from fucking day one. But even in death, Gothel's manipulations and abuse continue to wreak havoc on the lives of her daughters, turning them against one another, as is unfortunately all too common in toxic and abusive households. We'll talk a bit more about why Cass turning on Rapunzel is not completely unwarranted in a little bit, but first we need to provide context informing much of it. That context being... Rapunzel needs therapy, guys. It's not often you see a Disney character who is mentally reeling from their previous journeys. Most of the time in fiction, especially Disney stories, characters shake off their older escapades rather easily, as though they never happened. Rapunzel, though, the scars of Mother Gothel's abuse have never fully faded.
Hello, Rapunzel. Did you think I was gone forever?
A huge allure of the show for me was exploring how Rapunzel's past has shaped her as a person, and a lot of the time, not for the better. She has a desperate need to please and befriend everyone, even compromising her own ideals and welfare.
You're just gonna have to accept the fact that some people aren't gonna like you.
All I can hear is his gravelly boo over and over in my head.
She struggles in moments of crisis when having to choose between her kingdom and her friends.
Princess! My dad needs help!
No, don't hurt him!
Rapunzel! You promised! You promised!
And she tends to think that she knows how everybody else feels and talk past them.
Being Gothel's daughter, that makes us closer than friends. It makes us sisters.
Sisters? My own mother chose you over me.
And all of that is from Gothel.
When will you realize I will always get the better of you, whether you're trapped in a tower or trapped in your own mind?
For 18 years, Gothel raised Rapunzel on a lie, most of the time leaving her alone, completely isolated and unable to socialize with anyone besides her and Pascal. And mind you, she had to hide Pascal, so she learned very early on that for her own survival, it was necessary to lie and bend the truth to certain people to avoid their retaliation for an action that is perfectly harmless. That's not even touching on her trying to constantly appease her mother and compliment her in order to get on her good side so that she would feel safe and asking for what she wanted. Most of the time, she'd either get passive-aggressive comments followed by a touch of ye olde gaslighting.
I see a strong, confident, beautiful young lady. Oh, look, you're here too. I'm just teasing. Stop taking everything so seriously.
Or, well...
Come on! Enough of the lights, Rapunzel! You are not leaving this tower! Ever!
Oh, that scene still hurts. Oh, God.
Oh, great. Now I'm the bad guy.
Gothel is so underrated. Like, yeah, say what you want about the flamboyant, fantastical Disney villains. I love them too. But holy shit, on the level of this person exists in real life and they're terrifying, no one comes close to Gothel. All these things leave scars on you mentally, and the behavior and coping methods you develop during this time stick with you because, well, you had to ingrain them in yourself. Most often, not even consciously, just to survive day by day. And all of this really grounds Rapunzel as one of the best, if not the best written Disney character. And perhaps why her story resonates with so many people. I mean, just look at this moment she returns to the tower.
This is the first time I've been back since...
This moment is not impactful because it's nostalgic for lovers of the movie. It's breathtaking in its eeriness and how uncomfortable it makes you. We spend the entire series in the bright, cheerful walls of Corona, far from this horrible, dark place, and then here we are. The tower is still there, alone, hidden within this grove, liana and vines overrunning it as it's been forgotten and neglected. For Rapunzel, this was both her home and her prison, with contradictory memories all flooding back at once. And those struggles that still haunt her have not been left behind just because Gothel is gone and Rapunzel is with her true, loving family. Those scars remain and take their tolls routinely, not just on Rapunzel, but everyone around her, whether they were in one way or another involved in her kidnapping or affected by the ripples it created. King Frederick is the most obvious example of someone besides Rapunzel that Gothel's action devastated.
Rapunzel! I just want to protect her.
He went into a horrible depression, and even when Raps returned home, he allowed himself to become so paranoid something similar would happen to her that his overprotectiveness became a suffocating control. Hell, he even tries to impede her journey to learn about the Black Rocks with terrifying soldiers.
We had orders to recover the scroll, to keep it from you.
Who? Who orders you?
Your father.
And imprisons her within her room, a tower.
You are to remain under constant surveillance in the most secure room in the castle.
Huh, locked in a tower, alone by a parental figure. I wonder how this might be familiar.
Stuck inside once again and I'm gazing out.
But though the show makes it clear that Fred's actions are not right, they aren't because he's evil or he's an idiot. He is a father doing his best and unable to see that his fears are causing far more harm for the people he wants to protect than good.
Despite how rash and drastic his actions may seem, they come from a place of love. But I agree with you. This isn't right.
And by the end of the first season, both he and Ariana let Rapunzel go to fulfill her destiny with her friends, their relationship stronger than ever before. Again, very refreshing to see positive examples of parent-child relationships in media, especially for adult children. More of this, please. But it's not just him that's a victim of Rapunzel's trauma. Though Raps had to remain in Corona during the Dark Magic Blizzard in Queen for a day, she never went back to check on Varian in Old Corona and to see what he needed help with.
Rapunzel! You promised!
What?
She became so entangled in her own strife that a friend was left out in the cold. And no, that is not at all her fault, but it certainly did not help matters later on.
I begged you in this kingdom for help. Everyone turned their back on me. It has to be this way.
To Varian, he was abandoned by the people that he trusted, by the kingdom that, to him, was merely pretending to care about protecting its citizens. All he truly had, his father, was imprisoned as a result of his own actions, and in that mix of self-loathing and anger, he directed it the only way he knew how, to lash out at the people he blamed for letting this happen, while doing all he could to help the only person he still cared about. If Rapunzel had gone to check on Varian, would Varian have been kept from going down this dark detour? Well, I don't know, but I can confidently say that Rapunzel, not even so much as checking in on him, was a massive factor hammering home to Varian this delusion that no one cared about him or his father. Is it Rapunzel's obligation? No, but it would not have taken more than a day at most to see if Varian was okay once Corona was safe. And it isn't Rapunzel saying that she can free Kieran that restores her and Varian's friendship and camaraderie. It's Rapunzel's listening to where Varian is coming from, and affirming that she understands and there is a chance for redemption.
There is no way that they will ever forgive me.
How do you know if you don't give them the chance?
It's not talking past him, it's not lecturing him on what he did was wrong, but listening, empathizing, and providing a clear path back to the light.
I know how much it hurts to have someone you trust let you down. After you go through something like that, how can you ever trust anyone again?
I don't know.
And speaking of talking past others, again, spoilers for season 2 finale, season 3. Just go here if you would rather skip. Wow, Rapunzel. I love you. But any other word than listen would have done wonders right here.
Cassandra, listen. I'm listening. I swear it's not too late.
For all of season 2, Cass has felt like she's been put on the back burner, as though she's nothing more than a mere extra on Rapunzel's journey to fulfill her destiny, and that no one really cares about her presence or expects anything great from her.
It's always someone else who sings while I'm left waiting in the wings.
Adira's constant teasing, combined with Raps seeming to trust this mysterious woman Cass does not trust at all, and reasonably so.
I bet you know a lot of things you're not telling us. We're not going another step until you start giving us answers.
You're right, Princess. It's time you heard the whole story.
And not listening to Cass' advice at all and even pushing it away.
What do you mean you can't do that? Of course you can. Are you that obliviously naive that you can't see?
Enough, Cassandra!
Perfectly set the stage for darkness to grip Cassandra's heart.
This has to stop now. This thing where you think that you've been my friend and don't even hear how you condescend the way you've always done.
Whether it's Santiri or something else stringing her along, that doesn't really matter. What matters is that because of Rapunzel's treatment of Cass was left vulnerable to manipulation of the anger, bitterness, and insecurity festering within her. When Cass is trying to escape with the Moonstone, all of Rapunzel's demands for her to stop and listen just aggravate her and further push her away.
Just wait.
Wait?
No, I won't wait. Cass!
In this moment, Cass is releasing all of the anger and excitement that she has been containing since her vision in the House of Yesterday's Tomorrow.
And I'm done holding back, so look out, clear the track, it's my turn. I'm taking what's mine.
In that moment, the only way to reach out to Cass was how Raps reached out to Varian later on in the season 3 premiere, to meet her where she was, which Raps could not do. Just letting Cassandra ramble on and vent out how she was feeling in that moment, how she'd been feeling all this time, it might not have turned her, but it could have at least opened her up to the idea that maybe Raps does care.
Sisters, my own mother chose you over me. My whole life I've been cast aside for you. No more.
Maybe she was sorry for what she'd been doing and sincerely considered Cassandra her friend and equal. It would have done far more than push her into whatever she's about to do to Corona. Rapunzel's Tangled adventure might be nearing its end, but I won't forget anytime soon the wonderful message it had to share, nor the amazing journey it explored. Whether it was Rapunzel and Eugene's work to strengthen their relationship, Cass' struggle to prove herself, or how Rapunzel's trauma has continued to affect her, and how she works to overcome that, This show did more than it needed to in order to garner support from fans of the original movie, and I very much appreciate that. If you can, please check it out over on Disney Channel to support it on its final episodes, or check out the first 2 seasons on Disney+. Disney, sponsor me, please. I know I took shots at you earlier, but constructive criticism, and I know it's not your fault, personally, that we live in the late capital's hellscape. Systemic problems, yo. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more content like this from me, then be sure not only to check out the rest of my videos, but also to subscribe and ring that bell for notifications of my new videos because YouTube hates creators. Please also consider, if you are able to and willing, pledging your support of myself and the channel over on Patreon. I'm the Unicorn of War, and this has been a gay-ass revolution.
Where's your rattle?